one or two others that'll be coming, but like as I look around this room, these are people that I wanted here, okay? And Dr. Travis wanted here, because the very things that we're going to discuss here tonight are things that we discuss tableside on our journey of health and wellness. And I want to empower you with some strategies that you can take with you outside of this office to be able to help your adjustments last longer, so that you can have the energy, the health, the strength, the confidence, the certainty in order to do the things that you want to be doing with the people you love doing them with. So I have a very special guest here tonight. This is Dr. Sarah. Let's give Dr. Sarah a warm welcome here. Which you and I met, have to actually go to Dr. Travis, who's the camera guy here.
That's correct, yes.
Because Dr. Travis and Dr. Sarah met at a networking event. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this before. It's called BNI. Now, John, I know you've heard of this. You never heard of it. And Meredith, I know you know about this. Is anybody else? I mean, Lynn, obviously, you know about this. Dr. Travis knows about it. Does everybody know about BNI?
No.
BNI is Business Network International. Yeah, sorry, that's my Michigan, like, coming out, yeah. BNI, Business Network International. And so it's where a group of local business professionals get together. They talk about their expertise across multiple industries, and then they connect with individuals that are highly reputable, so that when you have your clients with a need that you don't offer, then you can refer their services out. So we don't offer acupuncture here, but we found you an awesome acupuncturist. But I say acupuncturist, healer, okay? So their topic tonight is all on stress. We're gonna pretty much go unscripted.
Yep, we'll see where it goes. Don't worry though, I will say I don't have any needles on me, just worship.
Yeah,
right?
okay, so no needles, in case anybody was wondering. That's a good point to bring up right from the beginning. Especially those that sat closer to the
I know, I just wanted to
exit.
put them a little bit more at ease, right?
Okay, I love it. So it's a big topic out there. Today it's called stress. And if I were to ask you to raise your hand, who here is under stress? Yeah. And if you're not lifting up either arm, it's usually a shoulder injury here that we need to talk about offline. $4.1 trillion was spent in 2020 on health care. Of all the drugs in the world consumed, the United States consumes 75% of them. Yet, the United States has only 5% of the world's population. So if money and drugs were the solution to your stress and health crisis, you and the rest of the people in the United States and the world would be the healthiest people on the planet. Sadly, the research shows is that they estimate on the low end 60%, on the high end 90% of all doctor visits today are stress related. And you would assume that all these stress related issues would be people of Medicare age, but what they find is it's a group between the ages of 24 and 64 that are being hit the hardest. Stress will induce your back pain or back-related issues at a 5-fold, conservatively speaking, and your chance of cancer a 3-fold, conservatively speaking. We're not even talking about diabetes or heart disease or Alzheimer's or all these other long-term chronic issues. If I were to ask you in this room here, who wants to live to be 94 years old? Who Who's raising their hand? Who wants to go for it? I love it. Meredith, anybody else? Okay, John? Okay. If you were hesitant or not raising your hand, why may you not want to live to be 94?
Because of poor quality of life at the time.
Absolutely, right? I think that summarizes it. Anybody else have anything to add? I think that summarizes it. You don't have to stop at 94, so you can keep going as long as you desire. Okay? But it's the quality of life, right? So if you knew that you might live to be 94, or whatever age that God blesses us with, that we're going to be here on this earth, that if you knew that you potentially would live that long, when's the best time to take care of your health? Yesterday, now, like 10 years ago. Like they say, the best time to plant the oak tree was 50 years ago. Second best time is today. So you're an action taker. I know you care about your health. And yes, Carol, I want you to get the best results, not only in here, but outside of the office, so you can have the highest quality of life and dramatically minimize your chances of needing any drugs or surgery. That's why I have Dr. Sarah here, because we're aligned with this. And this isn't an or conversation. I might make my enunciation. It's not an or conversation tonight. It's an and conversation. So stress is running wild. Anything you want to add to those stats or what you see in your practice there today before we get into our personal story?
No, I mean, I think you pretty much said it. Basically, I was speaking with Meredith earlier today, and I actually used to be in politics, and one of the reasons I opened my clinic in McLean a couple of years ago is, well, there is a big cluster of very stressed out people, and unfortunately today that number of stressed out people continues to grow. And I know some of you think, okay, well, I fall outside that age range, right, of stressed Americans. Unfortunately, that range is getting larger and larger. I am seeing middle school kids coming to me with stress and anxiety. I am seeing retirees coming to me with stress and anxiety. And as Dr. Brandon said, yes, there are short-term consequences, but there are long-term consequences too. And so if we do want to be older, which we are to need to be older, but we want to be healthy and have a health span, right? Then we do need to make sure to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to share, I know a few things about stress. I'm 42. My dad had a heart attack at 42. I remember being 14 years old and coming home to an empty house because my mom had rushed my dad to the ER. And thank God for crisis intervention, saved my dad's life. But at 42, had a heart attack. I mean, I could get into all the fear, the stress, the worry, and emotionally as a 14-year-old boy, the impact that had on me. But then I only come to realize that looking back, I didn't know. I knew my dad was under stress, but I didn't know the levels and the degrees that he was under stress. My dad grew up with 2 alcoholic parents. So home life was not stable or easy, to say the least. My dad's a recovering alcoholic. So he's 41 years sober. Yes, praise God on that, okay? The next thing is my dad was a smoker up until his heart attack. When my dad graduated high school, we had this thing that was going on in the world called the Vietnam War. So there was a draft going on, and right out of high school, he was drafted. He chose the Marine Corps, 3 months of boot camp, and he was off to Vietnam for a year. Most of the people that were in his troop, in his group, his friends, never made it out alive. If they did make it out alive, all the stress they were trying to numb with alcohol, drugs, they just ended up losing their life with suicide, things like that. Not many people survived, if they didn't, even when they came back home. But my dad survived. And then I watched him growing up with post-traumatic stress disorder. Then to come to realize that he was in the middle of a failing marriage. So you look back and you're like, well, yeah, I can see the impact that this could have on somebody's life. So stress shows up in a lot of different ways and will impact you in a lot of different ways. So I've committed my life now over the past 20 plus years of finding the best strategies so that I can cope better with the stress that I'm under, that I can stay as healthy as possible, because my daughter Kalista just is turning 12 this month. And it just reminded me yesterday, as Mom took her over to middle school, I had the feelings of the kindergarten thing again. As I'm realizing the age that she's at, and my son is 8. And I love playing baseball with them. I was talking to you earlier about this. So I've committed to figuring this out for myself so I don't end up like my dad and then possibly leaving my children. Now, I don't have a crystal ball here, and I don't know when God puts an expiration date on my life, okay? But for the years that I am here, I want that quality of life, and I want to ensure that I'm as healthy and strong as possible so that I can be there for my kids. And then I want to share this information with you all, because I know the information that I've learned and discovered will help you. And tonight there's going to be some very powerful takeaways. So that sheet is for you. You have your notes. Take notes on what you're hearing for yourself. And information is great, but only if you use it. We're talking about what is the next action step for each and every one of you here tonight. So I'm 16 years sober myself. Right before I graduated chiropractic school, I decided that that wasn't a good part of my life, so I gave that up. So I want to let you know that I continue to work on myself each and every day. I'm very grateful for Dr. Travis, who is keeping my spine in line to keep my nervous system operating at an optimal level. But I'm also then putting in the work of eating well, moving well, thinking well, to then help support healthy lifestyle choices to keep that stress out of my nervous system, keep my body functioning optimally. Dr. Sarah, you want to share your story?
Yeah, so as I alluded to a little bit earlier, I was actually not always an acupuncturist. I actually moved to the Northern Virginia area to pursue a degree in public policy. I was in politics for all of 1 year before I essentially never went back. Yeah, I know, right? What happened? So a lot happened. I was fortunate in that I was young when my body kind of broke down on me, right? I had started having trouble sleeping. I was having panic attacks. I was having night paralysis. It's DC, so I started developing allergies, right? A lot of us are going through that, and I was going doctor to doctor, and no one was telling me what was wrong. They're like, oh, maybe you're stressed, or maybe you need to do this or do that. Let's look at your brain, let's look at your heart, let's look at your lungs. They're all healthy. We don't have an answer for you. One day, I remember I was getting up, I was having some kind of, now I know it's anxiety. I didn't know at the time. I thought I was going to get sick. I thought I was going to get passed out. I remember I stood up, my vision went, right? And I ended up falling down an elevator, right? And no one helped me up, right? It's just like, what just happened? I was like, this is not the way to be living, right? I'm not sleeping. I'm not enjoying my life. I'm essentially just existing day to day. I ended up taking the year off. I didn't know what I was going to do with myself, but I knew I needed to live better for me. And I also realized that I wanted to really help people. Whereas we like to think in politics, we're helping others, right? We're doing things for their behalf. I was like, maybe that's not the answer. And then I looked back on my healthcare journey and realized that even though I was seeing all of these doctors, they weren't really looking at me. They were looking at specific organ systems, right? They're very specialized, but they weren't putting all the pieces together. So what does that, right? Unfortunately, we have in the Maryland area an acupuncture institute. And over a decade later, I've been in love with it. Yes, it's helped me, but the fact that I'm able to see other people starting to put the pieces of their life I get together, it's been miraculous. And I do want to say that even though it helped me, it's something that I still continue to rely on for support to continue bettering myself as well. Because even though we know we live and die, right, stressors continue to come at us. And right now I could say I'm 1 month sober, not necessarily because I want to give up drinking, but because I was so stressed out with the housing market, right, inflation, everything that's going on right now, that I ended up giving myself acute gastritis, right? Me, an acupuncturist who's supposed to practice Zenful mindfulness, right? I ended up getting stressed out. Can't drink, I can't have coffee in the morning, right? And it's like, oh yeah, I need to practice what I preach. So this is just to go to show you that this is really important, the lessons we learn, and some of the things that we're going to go over tonight are some of the things I'm doing myself. I'm reminding myself of again. And it's a continual practice, and consistency is key, okay?
And a big part of being here tonight is actually to give you some space in your busy life for you. Because you're going to have distinctions and awarenesses tonight that you would not have been able to have if you just continue on the hamster wheel. So that handout there that was put together by Dr. Sarah, those are great questions in there. Use that as like a guide and a trigger list on where are you at. Like in this moment, where are you at? Like these are all signs of stress that starts to show up in your body. Because if we just keep going and going and going and going and going and we're missing the whispers, then we wait for the screams.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we're forced into action rather than being proactive and saying, I want to take this action to better my life, better my health, so on and so forth. So how does this and by the way, is all stress bad? No, there's good stress out there, right? So can somebody give me an example of good stress? Yeah, Meredith, right? That's good, okay.
Exercise is great.
Okay, so if you haven't met, I know some of you were here for the Bulletproof Your Lower Back Stretching Clinic last month. Meredith was here leading that class, so I recognize quite a few of you. So if you haven't met Meredith, she handles the exercise and personal training, okay? But I say exercise and personal training, she does comprehensive wellness, okay? That's my personal trainer, Lynn's personal trainer. She's awesome, okay? But exercise is a stress, and that's a healthy stress on the body. Okay, any other examples?
Winning a ball game.
Yeah, winning a ball game, there you go. Just the excitement about that, right?
Sure.
We ended in a 5-5 tie last night, so there's still a lot of excitement around that. But yeah, deadlines can be helpful, right? Because it's going to push you across, okay, the goal line. Now, if it's like 1, 2, or 3 days, that type of stress, not like weeks, months, years, decades, okay? But what tonight we're talking about is the chronic long-term stress that keeps you in fight and flight. Which it's there for a survival mechanism. Like if you're getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger, but you're like, oh, there's no saber-toothed tigers here today chasing me down. Well, it's your work, it's your family, it's Northern Virginia, and everything else that accompanies that. So, but how does this show up? So you have the survey there, but the stress shows up in your body as pain, like low back pain, neck pain, headaches, those type of things. Could be arm pain, shoulder, elbow, wrist, hip, knee, ankle, foot. It could be showing up as exhaustion. You're like, I'm sleeping, but I don't feel rested. I'm like, my tank is empty. I try to recoup and re-energize, but I'm tired. Sinus and allergy, immune system related issues, this could be showing up as. This could be showing up as digestive. I mean, Dr. Sarah touched on a lot of these already. Acid reflux, indigestion, constipation, irritable bowel, that type of thing. Weight gain for no reason, or weight loss for no reason, okay? Irritability, aggravation, agitation, anxiety, so you're just more fearful, anxious, worrying. It's like the mind and the chatter just won't shut off. And then bouts of depression, just like all these lulls and things like that. There's a lot more, but these are what we call body signals. And the body signal is the symptom, but we know that's not the problem, that's the effect of the underlying root issue, right? So what we're going to talk about here in this next segment is how does chiropractic deal with this? And then how does acupuncture deal with this? And how can these two, I don't want to say treatment, but caring, so the care for the body. Yeah, disciplines, that could be great word.
Modality.
Yeah, modalities, treatment, how can, all that, you guys get what I'm saying, okay? Not going to get caught up on semantic. How can these two be a powerful force to help you achieve what you want to be achieving? So, we already established that modern life is stressful. I brought my lamp, okay, right here. This is what we're trying to aim towards. What you don't realize is that this is healthy normal. Healthy is normal, sick is abnormal. Sicks become the new norm. This is your natural state. And then when you have subluxation, okay, pop quiz. See how well Dr. Travis and I have educated you all. What's subluxation? Who can tell me what a subluxation is?
Misalignment.
There you go. Okay. Misalignment, I'll go with that. Anything else? Anything else you want to add to that? Misalignment, that starts to stress these yellow things. Any idea what the nerves, right? So subluxation will make brain function start to do this. And by the way, this is all researched out of the college in chiropractic in New Zealand. They've done this research. This is not even dealing with pain base. This is dealing with perception base and brain base. So then, let's say then we have unhealthy relationships. And let's just say then we're not resting the way we know we could. And then like our nutrition, we're just like consuming a lot of pro-inflammatory items. And then we're just like glued to our chair. We're not moving. Just very sedentary. And let's just say that maybe we're not drinking enough water. Okay. I'm not an acupuncturist, but I'll go as far as say as like maybe our meridians are not in balance. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, our chi isn't flowing.
Thank you. The chi's not flowing. Okay. You are alive. You are awake, so to speak, but you're not fully optimal. Everybody get that?
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is teach you some strategies to then start to turn that brain back on. Open up the chi flow, the nerve flow, get things flowing. Because you guys know what happens when you shut down the water supply and water becomes stagnant, right? Can't sustain life. Like, you need water flowing. So when you shut down the flow, like movement, that's a problem. And then we're working on building towards this. But we have 3 types of stress that we're under every single day. What are the 3 categories of stress? Physical, mental, and chemical. The mental stress, okay, what I think was there like a pandemic or something that's gone on in the last couple of years? Then we have inflation, we have war, we have all these types of stress. You have stress going on, different types. So we have it psychologically, mentally, emotionally, socially, all that stress starts to build. Then it gets compounded by the chemical stress that we're under. What would be some chemical stressors? We already talked about one, alcohol, but what else would be a chemical stressor? Medicine, yeah, absolutely. Any medicine, no matter, even if it helps with your symptom, there's always a side effect. It's a toxin, okay?
Bad food.
Bad food? All right, so I like the bad food, I'm with you on that, but what does that mean? What is bad food? Give me some examples. Help, John.
French fries.
Yeah, French fries, so the fried stuff, yep. Sugar, over-processed. What do you-
I'm saying additives,
Additives,
like words you can't pronounce.
yeah. You know, like, I have colleagues of mine, and this was, I guess it was a thing with chiropractors, is they buy a hamburger from McDonald's, and they put it on, like, the front desk, and then it, you know, it looks exactly the same decades down the road. This is a true story. True.
Yeah.
It's, like, true. Like, yeah, it's true. Like, won't even grow mold. It, you know, animals won't even touch it. Okay, so a lot of additives. Okay, so wheat, gluten, genetically modified corn, soy, dairy, all those things.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. Then you get like the diet and you think you're doing better. Then it has all the artificial sweetener in it, which is a neurotoxin in and of itself. So all this, and then we don't really notice it, but then it seeps its way into our body. But we didn't even talk about like all the chemical stuff in our environment and like what we're washing our hair with and putting on our skin, and so it starts to build up. And then we start to get the physical stress, macro trauma, car accidents, slips and falls, sports injuries, being born. Anybody here ever born? That's why we check infants and newborns here, because 8 out of 10 children when they're born are born with subluxation, which you said is a misalignment of the spine that stresses these nerves. Okay? And then for most people, it is the micro trauma. Can somebody tell me what a micro trauma is?
Unseen stuff that's adding stress to your body.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Because you don't really recognize that. I brought this up here for a reason. It was like,
Yeah.
Keep looking down.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Who here has a cell phone, right? Here has like a desk job. Yeah.
these are like the micro traumas. Sitting is the new smoking. That's why we need to move. Thank you, Meredith. Because movement's key. All that stress starts to then put more and more stress and tension on your nervous system. And then I know people tell me, it's like, Doc, can you help me? My neck and my shoulders are starting to roll in. This is all a sign of long-term stress. And all that stress, when your head goes forward over your shoulders, your 10-pound head starts to become 70 pounds to your spine. And it causes more stress. All right, what happens if you eat too much candy? What happens to your teeth? They rot, cavity. Does that happen overnight? Oh, like the first time you have candy, is that a big deal? I don't think it's a big deal. But if it happens over time, it starts to wear down your teeth. Well, you don't see it, but that's what exactly is happening in your spine. The sedentary lifestyle and all the stress is like sugar to your teeth. That's like create cavities in your spine. And that's why we need to care for the spine, because that's the suit of armor that protects your nervous system. If the brain and body aren't connected, then your body is going to be less adaptable to the stress that you're under. You're going to be less resilient, you're not going to recover well, and then all that stress, breakdown in the body, that's how we get the symptoms. So as a chiropractor, we're the only trained professionals to look for and evaluate for subluxations and work on correcting them. And we recommend care based off of what our findings are and what your goals are. Okay. We have what's called the three-legged stool to help drive your optimal health outcomes. Who can tell me what the three-legged stool is? Okay, yep. That's leg number 2. So what Kate's saying is that we need to identify those stressful habits that are causing subluxation and stress in your body in the first place.
Change your behaviors.
Yeah. So we have the stop doing, then we have the start doing. So your behaviors to align. Okay. And then the third leg, keep your adjustments in rhythm, because with those adjustments they build rhythm and momentum over time. That's how you optimize your results in the office. Okay? So we'll get into some specific lifestyle, my favorites, but I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Sarah. So then she's going to talk then about how acupuncture, how she identifies the stress, and how acupuncture can help your body cope with the stress that you're under. And then not only get through the symptoms, but also stay well. So Dr. Sarah?
Absolutely. So what I love about acupuncture, and I alluded to this earlier, is that it looks at all of your organ systems, right? It basically looks at you as a whole person, because you are a whole person, right? Your heart's not here, your brain's not there, right? So what we do in acupuncture is, yes, you come in and you have like what we call your chief complaints, just like when you come here, right? You have an ache or pain here, an ache or pain there, right? So we take that, yes, that's fantastic, but I want to know your health history, your social history. I want to know how everything is operating, right? So again, we're going to start with your sleep. How is it? How has it been? Has there been a change, right? Just like if you look at that list, is there a change in your sleeping? Are you waking maybe around 2 or 3 a.m.? I know a lot of people tend to wake up around that time. And when I say, and they're like, yeah, I'm like, okay, great. That's the time of the liver, which in Chinese medicine is associated with stress or frustration. And a lot of people say, yeah, I wake up and then I have a hard time going back to sleep. So we're looking at all these things. What have been the changes in your life? Again, some of the macro traumas and the micro traumas, right? What are you doing? But while you're talking to me, I'm also observing you. We use something known as CSOE, color, sound, odor, and emotion. People tend to, when they're talking, sometimes you notice little flashes of green. Sometimes people have a little bit of a yellow around their mouth. Maybe there'll be, some people tend to have like a redness to them, right? I'm noting this. Some people have an emotion they tend to go to, right, when they're really tired. I'm seeing what your CSOE is. And then once you're up on the treatment table, I do something, I'm taking your pulses, just like your primary care would. But instead of just one pulse, we believe you actually have 12 pulses. One goes to each of the main 12 organ systems of the body. I'm seeing how those feel. When it comes to stress or anxiety, we sometimes say some of the pulses will be a little taut, a little tight, like the guitar string, right? Just pick it hard enough and it's gonna flip right open. But I'm also gonna look at your tongue. Yeah, I know it's kind of weird, right? But if you go to a dentist, they'll often take a look at your tongue too to see how your whole health is. In Chinese medicine, we say your tongue is like a microcosm of a human body, meaning different parts of the tongue represent different parts of the body. I'm looking for a pink tongue with a thin white coating. I would love everyone when they go home, take a look at your tongue. I've never seen a truly healthy tongue before, myself included. Particularly in this area, most of us tend to have a red tipped tongue with like little red dots as indicative of heat in the heart area, which again, it could be cardiovascular, but most likely it's gonna be stress or anxiety. And as we get older too, it tends to get a bit more purple in the middle. So I'm taking all these signs, observations, right, into consideration when I'm seeing what's going on with somebody. And then when it comes to the actual treatment, I'm putting all that together in order to kind of conduct a symphony, right? A treatment specifically for you and what's going on for you. And what's fantastic and why I think chiropractic work is so complementary to acupuncture is that if both of them access the nervous system, which Dr. Brandon will talk about from his standpoint, but in different ways, right? So once you're on the table, we do what we call distal and local points, right? So we put this thin filiform needle into a certain point. And thousands of years of study have shown that putting this particular, or activating this particular point has an effect on the local nerves, right? And the local nerves, they go all the way to the central nervous system in your brain, right? So the brain's like, what is this, right? This is an invader, it's not normal. So then the immune system, right, it goes to the area. But when the immune system is triggered, so is the healing system, so is the repair system. So essentially we're switching off that fight or flight, the sympathetic, and turning on the rest and digest, the parasympathetic. And as Dr. Brennan was telling us earlier, yes, our stressors have helped us evolve, they've helped us to get to where we are today, but we're not facing that saber-toothed tiger every day, right? Instead, our bodies see a stressor and it's a threat all of a sudden, even though it's really not that big of a deal, at least not for the most part. So we've gotten stuck in this system, even though it's become our new normal and we don't realize it. So acupuncture is helping the body to re-regulate itself, which means that for the most part, around 90% of the time, if not more, we should be in the parasympathetic nervous system. And then not only are we turning that system on, but research has shown that certain points help to produce and then release into the bloodstream certain chemicals, hormones, neuron transmitters. So serotonin, endorphins, all these other, we like to say kind of feel good hormones, right, and chemicals. And then over a series of treatments, the body's like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it starts to stay in that relaxed system longer and longer. And as it's doing that, we as the person, we start to notice, I'm not having trouble sleeping. My pain's not that bad. I haven't had a cold in a while. Or maybe, you know what, everyone else is having allergy issues, but I'm fine.
Yes, that's awesome, right?
Sorry, I should talk a
No,
little bit,
because I experience the same things with patients that we have coming in. I just had one here today, talking about how his whole family, it was experiencing some digestive issues, and it ended up with them vomiting. He has 2 young kids and his wife, and then he's like, I didn't have any of it. And he's the one that brought it up to me. He's like, I'm the only one here getting my spine and nervous system checked. It cleared out. I said, well, yeah, that probably has something to do with it, right? So to that point right there. Because then once you start getting this cleared out, that stress, you're gonna notice your body become more resilient. And once your body is more resilient to the stress that you're under, you're gonna show up more powerful and strong. You're gonna have energy, strength, and health. So the things that used to like bulldoze you over, your body's gonna be more equipped to handle those things. So, we can get into a lot of best practices right now. Like I can go a lot of ways with this. I'm sure Dr. Sarah can go a lot of ways with this. But what I'd like to do is, first off, does anybody have any questions for me as your chiropractor or for Dr. Travis and what we're doing and how we're working on stress for you?
I'm not sure this is a related question, but is it possible that somebody could have post-traumatic stress syndrome and never been to war or?
Yeah,
just
100%.
Chronic,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, war is an example of a traumatic experience. Then people can have post-traumatic stress. It gets embedded in their nervous system, gets embedded in their physiology, and they don't even know it.
And that's something that we can actually have a specialty in. Like I do a specialty in post-traumatic services, and there's special like protocols and that thing because there are so many, unfortunately there are so many different kinds of stressors that can cause that response in your body. Again, because we don't know how we're gonna respond, but the body just knows that it has to survive, so it's gonna do what it needs to do. Even if we say we have a virus come, right? Sometimes we stuff it down. Right, that's the body's way of responding. Same thing with a stressor. Sometimes they can stuff it down and we start to have this creeping up of symptoms. And we might not know until down the road, right? Oh my gosh, like this was a traumatic event for me, right? Sometimes people like have like dissociative disorders, like we don't really remember a lot. It's just, yes, it's not just war and it's actually fairly common. I think that oftentimes during the course of treatment with my patients, I would say a good 30 to 40% realize that they've had a trauma in their life that they've never dealt with or they didn't even know happened. And that plays a part in the current symptoms they're having.
Yeah, I was reading about post-traumatic stress and I thought, wait a minute.
Yeah, and we often just think, oh, that's just the way I react to things. And it's kind of like, well, why? Yeah.
And it's like stuff down in your soul. And like that's when like we have these experiences, which I'm sure Dr. Sarah will have. We go to adjust somebody, Dr. Travis and I were talking about it. We can have this parasympathetic release where then all of a sudden you just get really emotional. And then it's just like the waterworks.
I did that here once.
Yeah. And I'm like, there's healing right there. It's happening right here.
I've done that here a number of times.
It's
Yeah.
just salt water.
And-
Salt water's so healthy.
Yeah, and then we could have on the other side of it uncontrollable laughter. That's another parasympathetic response while being on tip. You can have somebody then all of a sudden, like immediately, instantly break out in sweats.
Yeah.
Because this is a shift in the physiology that's going on in that moment. Okay, that's a great question. All right.
Why, we've got in the military, retired and people coming back from the wars. The suicide rate is unbelievable. Like, I think there was 70 a day for a while there. 70 suicides a day. And we're talking about stuff that can help that. Why can't we get that into Veterans Administration or whatever it is?
Oh, that's
That's a
pretty.
deep question, I hope.
It's a deep question, but a pretty simple answer. And maybe you have the right word for me, being with your involvement in politics. I didn't know that about Dr. Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
that's
actually
something
worked with the VA as a liaison for a while, so.
Yeah, and
I worked as a VA liaison.
Oh, okay.
And in chiropractic school, I was part of an organization that we would travel to. Were you part of that, Dr. Travis? So we would travel to Capitol Hill and meet with our senators and congressmen and women and talk to them about this gift that we had that we wanted to give to the men and women that serve our country. But I think is it bureaucracy? That's the word?
Good word.
Okay, yeah. So because of that and the powers that be, and you have to recognize that the people that hold the seat that you elected are funded by the pharmaceutical company. So they don't want to have people in there that offer these other type of treatments and modalities because then all of a sudden their seat is gone. So we can go really deep in that, and that's a whole nother conversation. I just felt my blood pressure go up 50 points by doing that, talk about this, so.
I can up and say that that's the same reason that the major medical insurance companies.
Yep, because they're funded by the pharmaceutical companies, and then the policy in this country is driven off of the money. And so even though it may not be leading to your health under the guise that it's in your best interest, is not really in your best interest. It's about making money at the end of the day. We don't want you dead out there. We just want you alive long enough so we can continue to make money off of you for the rest of your life. Okay? So, yeah. Thanks for opening that up.
I will say this. We are on the right track. It is a very, very slow pace, but we are on the right track. I have been watching Medicare and I've been watching VA and TRICARE. There's a bill that's going to be up for vote soon about getting like acupuncture coverage, more complementary modalities covered through insurance, whether you're through VA, right, TRICARE, whether you're on Medicare, Medicaid, those sorts of things. It's slowly happening. Okay, but as more people continue to know about it, and as we continue to produce more research, right, that's how we're going to get that in numbers as well, and education, which is why we have these talks, we have these workshops, because it's like I talk to people about acupuncture, they're like, oh, well, what does that do? And they just don't know about it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, who's ultimately going to be responsible for your health? That's right. And you guys, I know you know that because you're here, because you're investing in your health. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we can't rely on an insurance company. We can't rely on the slow pace. I mean, my dad's a veteran, and I see like the care that he should be exposed to. So we just, have to figure it out and give him the care that he needs these days. But it's a very slow pace, and there's a lot of subluxations, okay? A lot of chi blockage, okay, in Congress today.
Well, I talked to the VA today, and the things are so complicated that there's a group that's working with the VA, like 17 pages you have to fill out if you want to have, you want to get paid. I'm 70% disabled myself.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand the system, but not everybody has college degrees and understand the system. They're coming back out of high school or maybe they didn't get through high school.
Well, Lynn knows about the veterans that we take care of, and they're asking us to fill out forms and everything like that. They come in there, and that's a major subluxation. All right. What other questions do you have for Dr. Sarah or me? How can we best serve you?
How do you suggest if somebody was gonna get acupuncture and get chiropractic care? How do we say that they work together?
Great. So whenever someone comes to see me and I do my assessment, right, I see what's going on. If I do feel like there is any kind of tension, I say, have you been to see a chiropractor? Or have you gotten a scan? Have you seen another doctor? If the answer is no, then I really recommend you go see a chiropractor. They take a look at you and then you come back to me. Because they have these really cool tools, right? And they can do things that I can't do. My tools, my needles are, a couple thousand years old. They haven't really evolved or changed, unfortunately. While they do some pretty awesome things, I can't get an idea of your structure the same way that Dr. Travis or Dr. Brandon can, right? And so often when we have stress, whether we have stress, all of us have stress, but whether we know it or not, right, that's eventually going to take a toll not only on our nervous system, but our bones, right? So our structure, our nerves, and our muscles, right? So we've got to be able to work with all of those systems. And to do that, we're going to have to use a conglomeration of tools, right, or different therapies to really get optimal results. And so if you go to see Dr. Brandon, he's like, okay, I see there's some like misalignment here, right? This is what I think is going on. This is some like an origin, right? And he's going to take care of that. I'm going to take that information, and that's going to help me with my treatment. Yes.
How often, I'm sure it's person to person, but how often does somebody see you?
Right, so usually, again, dosage is key, dose dependent, right? So yes, you can feel relaxed, you can sleep like a baby, right? You have one treatment. But it's really going to be, again, something more chronic. I say about once a week for a couple of weeks, and then we reassess, although I'm technically reassessing every time you come in. If it's something more acute, let's say you've unfortunately gotten to the point where all of a sudden you're like me, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm giving myself an ulcer. I would say come in twice a week for about 3 to 4 weeks. And then, and this is the important part, we're going to drive home soon, I'm just there to support you, right? This can really help with some acute signs and symptom relief and help your body start to get to the root cause and kind of undo it. But it's everything that you're doing at home that's where the result lies.
Yeah, because Dr. Travis and I will see you and clients that come into this office, and Dr. Sarah will see her clients, and then you leave this office and you're going right back into the same toxic and deficient environment and lifestyle. So, we need to have this conversation on what needs to shift, what needs to change. And what I can tell you is that there can be small shifts and changes. It doesn't need to be a home run. It could be a single getting on base. That can make all the difference in the world. Like, we talk about this video I saw one time, the 212 degree. Has anybody ever seen 212? You've seen that one, right? So at 211 degrees, water's really hot. If you add 1 degree to 211, it becomes 212. What happens to water at 212? It boils, and if you compact that steam, it's powerful enough to move a locomotive. So what I want to let you know is that just 1 degree of difference, like if a plane's going from, say, Florida up to Seattle, and it's 1 degree off, it may end up in the middle of Canada. So 1 degree can mean a big deal long term. But if you just make 1 degree shift now, that can make all the difference in the world to where you're wanting to go. So I want you to think that you don't have to like find a reset button for your life and start over. Okay? I always like to think that what's happened to you has happened for you, and there's some sort of gift in it if we can look past the pain. Like, I get it, like it's uncomfortable being in a pit of pain. But there's a lesson and a gift in it if we just give ourselves some space to recognize that this is where I'm at. And I'm going to take one more step forward, because that's where the growth actually happens in life, if you think about it. It's not when everything is all sunshine and rainbows. It's when you're going through some trials here. And we can help you get through that, help your body process it all, and give you some lifestyle coaching and tips to get through that. So what other questions you have for Dr. Sarah or myself?
You said for me to ask this question.
Yeah, I did.
My lower left back,
Yes, sir.
I've been to physical therapy, I've been coming here. We got my spinal, what do you call it when it's not suffocated, or what do you call it?
Yeah, aligned.
Aligned, I guess is the word. And I've used acupuncture before.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I told him I think that 20 or 30 years ago, I had a problem, I couldn't walk. And I went to an acupuncturist here in Vienna, I don't remember her name now. But she did something with my ear and foot and everything else. And I've never had a problem since then. And I had that problem every day. I just couldn't believe it. So I'm a real believer in, and I was over in the Far East, so I use acupuncture over there. I'm a believer in it.
Yeah.
I just haven't thought about it until you said, hey, I've got somebody coming in. I'm thinking, wow, how come I hadn't thought of that before? My Prevagen wasn't working or something.
Well, guess what? We can help with that too, right?
So are you able to put needles in something that would possibly get rid of that pain?
Absolutely. So again, working sometimes in complement with the chiropractor, that's how I see the best results, because again, so it's kind of like, okay, we can get you to a certain point, right? But depending on what's going on, okay, like what, like how is your vertebrae? How are the bones? How are the discs? How are the nerves? How's the inflammation? How is the muscle, right? How are all those things working together? It's like, okay, we're getting you to a certain point. Now let's add in a complementary tool to kind of get you over the hump, right? To where your body's like, okay, yeah, this is how we're supposed to be. This is how we're supposed to operate. And kind of going back to your question earlier, so my goal is eventually that you don't need me, right? So I know sometimes like with chiropractic, it's like I can tell you personally, I'm always going to need a chiropractor because it's very easy for things to shift. Right? But my goal is for you is to kind of get you back on track to where your body remembers how to operate. So like they say, if a great acupuncturist has no patience. But in today's modern world, something's always coming around the corner, right? So you've always got something new to bring to me. But again, ultimately, I should be able to work with my tools, complement them with Dr. Brandon's tools to really get you feeling good. But then if a doctor were to come and do your blood work, take an MRI, he's like, great, you're doing well. Not only that, you don't need pain medication, but maybe we can take you all this statin, maybe we can take you off this cholesterol medication too. That's really odd. How did that happen, right?
Thank you.
My question is, what are the needles actually doing?
Mhm.
And where are you placing them? Are you placing them onto the nerve?
Mhm.
Are you just placing them possibly into the muscle?
Mhm.
So what are those needles actually doing? Like activating something, subduing something? What's going on?
So it depends on, so there's many styles of acupuncture.
Mhm.
I am a 5-element acupuncturist and a TCM style acupuncturist, so I kind of use the two together. And what we say the mechanism of action is how does it work, right? So we have essentially a foreign object, right? It's foreign to the body. So depending on what's going on with you and where I want to place the needles, I know that by placing it, say right here, right? Between the pointer finger and the thumb, there's a hagu, a large intestine point, that's really good at bringing things down and out from the head, mental and emotional, like headaches, stress if you're caught up in your head, sometimes pushing here. Like right now, I know this is really tender for me.
Has anybody here been caught up in their head?
And you know you find it because it's tender, right? So putting this foreign object here, right? So it's a foreign object, or it's like a micro trauma, right? So the local nerves are gonna, I'm not sticking it into a nerve, right? So I'm putting it just below the center, or just below the surface of the skin, okay? But there's nerves around it that are gonna send a signal to the central nervous system, and then that's gonna activate this whole, what we call like a biophysiological response. So a lot of stuff starts happening because of our vagus nerve, our central nervous system.
So in that case, it was going into the muscle, basically.
Essentially, yes. And sometimes when someone does have more of like a physical pain, like let's say you have acute, like you were, I don't know, some tennis players here, right? Maybe you overstepped something and you tweaked your knee, right? I would be going a little bit deeper into that aggravated muscle there. And sometimes if we get knots or we get little spasms or twitches, sometimes we can do a more physical treatment, right? To kind of undo that, kind of release the muscle. But I'm still gonna put some more distal needles in, meaning they're not gonna just be at the site of injury or pain, because I want a healing response. I don't just wanna loosen the muscles, right? I want your body to help repair that area. I want your body to help flush the inflammation, right? I wanna make sure everything else is going okay too.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Well,
Thank you.
and I can speak to that because Dr. Sarah was one of the first people I called after I ripped my pec tendon. And so she was working on my shoulder, and I know that that was crucial and critical to help my body be able to heal and respond better to the surgeon's care. So she had working on needles all around that, but it was full body. And then she was using this cupping, and then she found like this trigger point back here and used this suction cup with the needle on top of it. It was like pretty amazing to get this area in my upper right, like shoulder blade to release. I'm just giving an example of what she was talking about, and my personal experience with it was fantastic.
And it might sound a little extreme,
Yeah,
especially when we talk about the trigger point. But the thing is, the way acupuncture works is that it relaxes the body.
Yeah.
Like if you're uncomfortable, if you're in pain, then I'm not doing a good job, right? Like I know you're like, how does relaxation equate to acupuncture? You know, somehow it, right, it works. These guys are so small. My needles are about 1/17 the size of a hypodermic needle. So whenever you get your blood drawn and you go to your primary care, mine's a fraction of the size. It's like if I had slightly thicker hair, it'd be maybe as thick as that at most. Some of the needles you're not even gonna feel. Once they're in, you should not feel it. At most, there should be an awareness, but you should not have pain. There should not be discomfort, because again, remember, we're trying to relax the body to put it in that that healing state.
Yeah, the parasympathetic out of that fight and flight stress.
Okay, so I have had acupuncture in the past to heal a tennis injury.
Okay.
And it was somebody in Falls Church, years ago. Anyway, I heard cupping, do you, use heat or massage along with the needles?
And so I guess, so yes, I'm an acupuncturist, but more, I think, I don't know what the word is. Specifically, I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner.
Okay.
And so Chinese medicine is not just acupuncture, but that's what most people know. So when they ask me what I do, that's what I say, right? But yeah, needles is just one component, right? So yes, we have cupping, we have body work, which could be the cupping. It can be something called scraping or gua sha. I think some chiropractors and physical therapists, I don't know, what's it called? The Graston technique or something?
Graston or Connect-X, there's a couple different ones.
So yeah, and then we also have Tui Na, Chinese orthopedic massage. We also do herbs, dietary therapy, because again, it's not just what we're doing to you that day, but it's also your lifestyle. So that's why we start to get into the herbs and diet. Although most people, you know, they want to come in and get stuck with needles, nap for 30 minutes and leave, which is a great start. There's nothing wrong with it, right? But if I can kind of encourage a little herbal tea here or a little extra cupping, yeah.
And then how long do the needles typically stay in somebody?
If I'm doing what's called E-stim or electroacupuncture, which is best done when someone has an active or acute injury, about 20 to 25 minutes. Yeah. So those are usually going to be more local at the site of the injury, because again, we want to flush it out. We want to make sure that it does not become a chronic pain, right? Now, if there's no E-stim or it's just needles, then about 30 minutes is the kind of the sweet spot, because again, sometimes people will put a needle in, twist it, it gets a response going, and then send them on their way. But again, most of us don't go home and relax. We'll go to work, we'll sip a cup of coffee. We're basically undoing what I just did. So that's kind of why I like to leave the needles in for 30 minutes, because essentially it's making you take a nap. I'm essentially treating you guys like you're back in diapers, okay? Yeah, right?
Yeah,
I'm making you
I fell
relax.
asleep,
Yeah.
like on the table, I was out.
Yeah, I've never fallen asleep. However, my stomach will gurgle if I have a good treatment, which again is
Parasympathetic
yeah, exactly.
response.
Mm-hmm.
Gets
Yeah.
things flowing.
Yeah, and people are like, oh, or I feel kind of like I was on the table and all of a sudden I started feeling like really heavy, like, or like, you know, a little twitch. I'm like, oh, okay, that's called being relaxed. Yeah, that feeling of like feeling your body sinking into the
You're like,
table.
oh, that's what that is?
Yeah, those are your
I was like,
muscles relaxing.
Relax, yeah, I have people on the table, relax. They're like, I am relaxed. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not relaxed. Relax.
Yes.
They're like, oh, wait, I am. No, you're not. Then they're like, no, I don't know how to relax.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for telling me the truth.
Yes.
It's like, I love this one. I check some
Yeah,
reflexes
yeah.
on somebody. Like, give me your arm. Okay, so I'm like, well, I said, no, give me your arm. Okay, then I take my hand away and their arm's still like this. Like, okay, you're not relaxed.
I think that's the biggest thing, and that's why I love to having someone lay on the table for 30 minutes, is because it gives them time to truly relax, to take a time out from the world, from these outside stressors, right? And again, I don't care if you don't fall asleep or if you're having, you know, the to-do list going on in your mind. Your body is still working. It's doing what it needs to do. And I love it when they do have those sensations or those feelings, and they're like, is this normal? I'm like, well, not a Nova, but yes.
And that's why we ask you to lay face down on the table before your adjustment, to actually breathe, to just relax, so your body is more receptive to receiving the healing adjustment.
I took
Yeah.
a nap today.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, great.
It's awesome.
Not a true nap, but I did. Didn't
That's
I
okay.
tell you?
Yeah.
I said I'm napping.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're in the sympathetic fight or flight, there's this whole cascade of physiologic changes that go on in your body. Your blood pressure goes up, so that's a sign you're in sympathetic. Okay, prolonged, I should say. Then muscle tension increases, so if you're feeling tense or stiff, you just don't have the flexibility. Then your heart rate goes up. Then your digestion slows down. And then fear and anxiety go up. And your sensory system goes up. So you're more in pain, like more pain sensations. Then your serotonin, the neurotransmitter for sleep, goes down. And then your, let's see, what else? Your blood sugar goes up. Insulin resistance goes down. Then your cholesterol numbers, the good go in the wrong direction, the bad go in the wrong direction. Your clotting factors in your body go up because they're waiting for the wound to happen, aka stroke. then your immune system gets downregulated, so then all your defenses that your body is naturally equipped with become exposed. Like when you eat processed sugar, your immune system is paralyzed for 4 hours. Then your reproductive system goes down, like the sex drive, the hormones go down. This is what's going on, and you feel what you feel, but that's the shift that's going on. And Dr. Sarah, Dr. Travis, and myself is trying to stop that shift over there and swing it back to the other direction. So like, let's take the foot off the gas pedal and apply some to the brake. We don't want all brake, but we don't want all gas. We want a balance right here. What other questions do you have? Yes, Lily.
Any modification to the needle? So when I first started with Dr. B,
Mhm.
he didn't do the alignment because I was really scared of carrying my body pump and everything.
Well,
He had this
wait,
little,
yeah, we did the alignment,
thing.
but not
Yeah.
not the manual style.
yes, he had like the little thing. I myself, I'm very, very scared of needles. I don't like needles. I'm anxious usually.
Mhm.
So are the modifications like cupping and all these other things that you can do to not start?
Absolutely. And so just so you know, I don't like needles either.
Okay.
Right? And I'm an acupuncturist. But so that's the thing. Yeah, so again, my goal is to figure out how to best serve you while making you as comfortable as possible. So that you get a benefit from being there, right? I don't want to waste your time. And so yes, so there are therapies that we can start out with depending upon what's going on. So sometimes again I will start you face down as well, and we'll do some cupping, we'll do a little bit of body work, and sometimes I have really teeny tiny needles that if you don't hold properly or use a guide tube to insert, they're so thin that your skin's barrier is so strong it'll bend it, right? It won't even go in because they're so thin. And so sometimes slowly over time, in points I know that, I guess more conservative points, right? They're really not gonna hurt, you're really not gonna feel them. I'll kind of start there. How are you doing? Oh, great, I didn't even feel that, right? And so, and I have to be cognizant, because again, I have kids as young as like 7, 8 who are coming to me, right, with anxiety and who have a fear of needles. I mean, that's probably like 80, 90% of my clientele, right? And then on top of that, sometimes they're ticklish too. So yes, so we do have modifications, yeah, that we can use, right? And so again, my goal is to make you as comfortable as possible.
Just don't look down. Don't look down.
Well, that's right too. Like, there's
I'm teasing, but kind of not.
No, I saw
Like,
it getting
you like-
the first time getting it just now, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, no.
And you know the number one thing you can do for that? Breathing.
Mm.
People often hold their breath. I'm like, all right, we're gonna keep breathing on me. And so sometimes I'll do what I call like the birthday cake breathing, which I know with COVID's a little awkward, right? Like taking a nice breath in, then breathing out, pushing the air out. But again, at my practice, if you have your mask on, that's fine. So when you're pushing that air out, that's when I needle you. I swear, I know it sounds crazy, but it makes such a difference. You really don't feel the needle at all. And that's something I'll probably start having you do too, and I'll kind of just sit there, I'll probably like be chit-chatting with you, and it's like I'm doing my thing and you don't even notice it. And that's a good thing with like time, you get better at it.
Where's your office?
So if you literally take Main Street, right, it turns into Dolly Madison, right, is it Chamber?
McLean, hang a left
Yep.
out of here,
Mhm.
3.5 miles, pretty much.
In McLean.
Yep.
McLean.
You just take this road.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I have a lot of patients. So I don't think I've had any screaming. No one's run out of there. I'll say that, okay? In 10 years, no one's run out of there.
My mom has closed the door so I don't run.
But again, it's about being gentle. If you're, I say give me 5 minutes, right? Because again, your heart rate's up. Some people are starting to sweat, right? I'm like, I get it. Just give me 5 minutes. All right. And sometimes people get so relaxed that I then have to make sure they take their time getting up because their blood pressure has dropped, and sometimes it drops so quickly because they get so relaxed.
I hate to ask this.
Go for it.
Money.
Money.
The insurance part, or not insurance.
Okay.
And how do you work that?
So the good thing is, as I was talking about earlier, more insurance companies are starting to cover acupuncture,
Yeah.
right? Which is fantastic. When I started out, it was about 30–40% of plans would cover it. Now it's about 50–60% of plans cover acupuncture. Now, it's not just, unfortunately, it's not just an issue with what insurance company you have, but about your particular plan. Because every plan is going to have a different acupuncture benefit. So it's kind of like if you were to see me, for example, right, what you would do is you would give us your information, your name, your date of birth, your member ID, that's all we know. We would call the company, verify your benefits. And then outside of that, there's a set schedule, right? Every clinic has a set schedule. And then for me personally, I know anyone who has Medicare, because at the time, Medicare doesn't quite recognize acupuncturists. But like Medicare recipients or Medicare as primary, right, who don't have secondary, and then TRICARE veterans, active or retired, they also get a discount and just a very low flat fee. And so we do it so that we can, or I do it at least so I can really try to see as many people as possible.
Yeah, I'll look and see what my plan covers.
Yeah.
And then if not, if your plan doesn't cover, is it pretty straightforward?
Yep, it's $130 for the initial, $90 for follow-up, and that includes all the needles, as well as cupping or gua sha.
Now, you have a special offer for those that are here,
That's correct.
so this is a good time to bring that up.
We can jump on to that, absolutely.
So yeah, just everybody, anybody that's interested, and I have at least 5 other people that couldn't be here tonight that are interested
Okay.
in making an appointment with you. So what is the offer that you have?
So essentially, basically for being here today, if you do want to come see me and you don't have acupuncture coverage, I'm essentially waiving the intake fee, so you would get the initial session at the follow-up fee of $90.
Wow, okay, that sounds like a great deal.
Yeah,
Great
and again, that's the
opportunity.
important part too, right? That's about like 30–45 minutes that I'm gonna be sitting chit-chatting with you.
Yeah, and then if you found areas that you can work on and that you can help them,
Right.
then that would be the time, then you just submit your insurance information, and then I'm sure she'd be able to let you know.
Yeah.
Exactly what it would be.
Yeah, because you don't have to come.
Afterwards.
Yeah, you don't have to come and have an appointment right away. Some people like to have a consultation first, because they're just more comfortable. So either way.
That's a great deal,
Yeah.
so thank you. Okay. I'm like, ready to roll and like tell you guys like my best tips outside of this office to like improve your life like immediately. They add tons of value in addition to what we're doing here. Okay? And I know you have lots of tips. I mean, I was reading all those and I said, all right, Dr. Sarah, we're planning on about 60 minutes, not like a day seminar, okay?
Right,
So
I know.
love this, so.
Yeah.
And can you include something in there about the best type of herbal teas?
I might. Oh, that is one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, I saw
so
that,
I'm
I saw that.
probably
Go
gonna
ahead,
throw
let's-
in the top 3.
Okay, so we're gonna go to best practices here as we wrap this up, okay? There's like immediate things you can implement now. I mean, we have Amazon, so you can get stuff later on tonight.
Oh my goodness.
You really
Okay.
could, or yeah.
All right, go ahead. Herbal teas or
Herbal
herbs.
teas. So when it comes to stress or anxiety, I love herbal teas for 2 reasons. One, herbal teas are a way to stay hydrated, right? And as we know, hydration is really important. Okay, so if you don't love water, this is a great way to keep your hydration going. But 2, they have medicinal properties, but because it's an herbal tea, it's not so concentrated that you're likely to have an adverse effect. Okay, and when it comes to stress, anxiety in particular, so let's say you're the type of person who, when they get stressed, gets a little tense, has a little muscle tightness, right? Lemon balm, passion flower. Now they're not going to make you tired, but I like to have these teas in the evening because they relieve physical and mental tension. Dr. Brandon, you might know this, but they have properties similar to magnesium, which is really known to kind of help relax the muscles. It gets things moving, right? So again, it will not make you sleepy. You can have it any time of day, but I say about an hour and a half before bed so you don't wake up to use the restroom. Great to do lemon balm or passion flower. Now, if you're the type of person who can get a little lethargic, maybe get a little overwhelmed, or even depressed, when you get stressed, hibiscus tea. Hibiscus has something that's similar to GABA in its extract, which kind of makes us happy. And because it's the summer, in the summer it can kind of dry out our skin, it's also really good for skin.
So, Kate and Catherine, I think I see like this herbal tea offering your chiropractic now. Enhance everybody's
Right.
experience.
And
I love
obviously,
that.
those are three that are kind of, obviously a lot of people might know about chamomile or lavender as well. But these are just something that might be a little different that you haven't thought about and have a little non-earthy taste to them. But again, you can always do a chamomile lavender because again, they are really good for calming the body down as well as anti-inflammatory.
That was my other one.
Yeah.
It's anti-inflammatory.
And anti-inflammatory. So all those are going to have like an anti-inflammatory effect. Herbal teas in general tend to.
As opposed to
Turmeric.
coffee?
Yes. So I'm gonna be honest, I do have a cup of coffee a day. I've now switched to organic, non-acidic. But again, if you have your cup of coffee, perfectly fine.
Stevia?
You know, I like mine black, right? But again, it's what feels right to you. Like, do you have any discomfort after you drink a cup of coffee?
No.
Okay, great. Just make sure the rest of the day you spend hydrating. Okay? And then obviously, no
Well, I
coffee.
take a diuretic, that's Lasix, so that's causing me all kinds of.
Well then you unfortunately have the wonderful, I guess, you have to kind of figure out what your balance is, right?
8 glasses of water a day.
Okay, yeah, fantastic.
I'd like to do that, yeah.
Yeah, well then that's a great goal, and maybe if you always wanted, you could just give herbal tea a try. Particularly if you're feeling like a little more ache in that, what is that lower left side, right? Maybe a lemon balm might be good for you.
Where do you get that?
You could get it, I don't know, which grocery stores are here? There's a
Whole
Whole Foods.
There's Whole Foods right down.
Fresh market.
Yeah, Whole
Whole Foods
Foods,
is
Fresh Market,
Absolutely gonna have it.
probably Trader Joe's, Mom's Organic.
Yeah.
I'm sure all those will have it.
You can have it iced as well.
You can.
You
Mhm.
can, I mean,
Especially since it's like going to be the warmer weather, absolutely. So you can have it during the daytime. But if you have digestive troubles, I might stay away from extremes, like anything too cold, okay, or too spicy. And I would also recommend if you have the type of stress that makes you more anxious at night, like you have a hard time falling asleep, to have more of a cooling tea in the evening, such as like a peppermint or a mint, again, because that can kind of cool you, soothe you, like a peppermint, lavender, and then you could do a more anti-inflammatory in the morning, like the ginger, the turmeric, because it has a warming quality, right? So it's more yang, more active, we say in Chinese medicine. So again, you might not put 2 and 2 together, but that can kind of get your system going, and we're trying to shut it down.
Thank you for mentioning turmeric.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
But that's what it.
Fantastic, but that's like a good thing to kind of wake up to the morning with.
And I'm dropping gold right here. I hope you guys are taking notes. This is awesome. Because we just did our sleep webinar in March. And if you didn't attend that, just want to let you know, we talked about the circadian code. And so at the nighttime, your internal body temperature should start to drop. So like if your temperature is going up at night, it's going to disrupt your sleep patterns.
Yep.
And then in the morning, your body temperature starts to rise. So this all flows with that. So the other thing is I just want to make sure everybody heard Dr. Sarah appropriately here, and there was no room for interpretation. What she was not saying was drink your herbal tea at night as you doom scroll on your phone. She was not saying that. So she was saying drink your herbal tea at night without your cell phone, okay, at least an hour before you go to bed, put that thing away and off to the side right there, and then have your herbal tea, shut off all electronics, and then maybe how are you going to listen without your phone? Maybe read something positive, encouraging, maybe I like meditation, gratitude journal. So here's a tip: if you're not journaling every day, you want to reduce your stress levels without changing anything else in your life, write down 5 things that you're grateful for every single day. Doc, I know I'm a grateful person. I'll get to that someday. Or I just think about everything I'm grateful for. Okay, I like that, but like the act of getting out a journal and actually writing opens up brain centers here. So just writing it out. I am grateful for. I am grateful for. I don't know if anybody do this right now. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. My experience has been you get started, you start with 5, and then like 15, 20 minutes later, you have like a whole list. And then all of a sudden, this awakens all these healing hormones within your body. Your perception of your environment starts to change. And all of a sudden, what you thought was burying you, you recognize that you're actually planted in all these blessings in your life. So, 5 things daily. They're like, should I do it in the morning? Should I do it midday? Should I do it at the end of the day? The most important thing is that you do that. For myself, I had to join the 5 o'clock club. Do I have any other 5 o'clock clubbers in here? 5 a.m.?
Closer to the 6. I'm working my way back.
Whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be 5. Some people might say, 4 or whatever. But it's a time and space that you give yourself, your most important appointment you're going to make for the whole day before you start your day or start attending to anybody else in the household. I know that if I'm up at 5 o'clock every single day, journaling and doing my gratitude journal as part of that routine, as I know my day is going to be better. And I'm going to be better adaptable to the stress that I'm facing throughout the day. So it's those reminders. So gratitude and journaling is tremendous. It's super powerful. So if you're not doing it, I'd say grab a cup of tea and get out your journal and then start writing. I think would be fantastic. So this is what I call net time, no extra time. So you're already drinking your tea, so why not then combine it with, if you can start to synergize these habits here, be like, I don't have time. 168 hours that we all have every single week. If you start looking at your calendar and you actually start mapping out what you're actually doing with those 168 hours, it is going to be eye-opening. So let's just say that you have 168 hours in a week, and let's just say you want to, your goal is 7 hours. Dr. Brandon said you should sleep at least 7 hours a night, a good quality, uninterrupted sleep, same start time, same waking time, 7 hours, 7 times 7. I know we didn't say there would be math tonight, but 7 times 7 is 49. So 168 minus 50, let's just say 119 hours in the week that you have available to you. You're like, well, okay. And then let's say you're working, and then what? We just shave 40 or 60 hours off of that? 119 minus, let's say, 60. That's almost like cutting in half. You still have, that's still 60 hours, and you got all the sleep and all the work you could do. What are you doing with the last 60 hours? All right, Lynn and I talk about this all the time, because just like your spine and needing alignment because of life stressors, or your chi needing to be opened up again because of life stressors, your calendar needs to be looked at on a regular basis. How are you devoting your time and energy in your life? Because a lot of times, we recognize that we have more power and control in our life than what we give ourselves credit for. We're like, oh my gosh, there's no way out of this. And then there is a way out of it, but you're so caught up in the fight or flight stress response that you can't see it, your perception goes down, and it's like there's no way out, and you feel buried. And then you recognize that you have a lot of power that you're sitting with that we're not leveraging here. And so how do you spend your time? That's a good question, right? And here's another thing, if you want to combat the stress and thrive in modern living today, is you need to get ultra clear on what your values are. What do you stand for? Because one of the greatest subluxations I see in my clients is that they have a value set over here, but their calendar and the way they're living their life is over here. So it's in complete contrast and contradicting where their value set is. So we're over here trying to serve this over here, but you don't value this. But for some reason you feel obligated to be over here. You feel guilty. You feel like you have to, versus them wanting to. So if you just did that, looked at your calendar and seeing where you're spending your time and was meticulous in writing down how you're spending your time, do this for a week or two, you're going to have insights and revelations to say, you know what? I just cleared up 10 hours throughout the week. You know that one hobby I've been talking about that I have not been engaging in? I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to give myself permission that I'm important and I can do something for myself that'll serve my soul. Okay? So these are the things that we talk about. We must have the courage to slow down. Because we have the, what is it, FOMO? Fear of missing out? Yeah, FOMO. And that's a real thing. It's a FOMO. We're afraid we're going to miss out on something.
The thing is, I think we have to realize too, we might miss out on that happy, healthy life if we don't, A, take a look, see where we're spending our time, right? B, turn back to our values, see what we want, and if that includes a healthy, long life, right? Okay. And then 3, then how do you get there? And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to wake up early at 5 a.m. But what is 10 minutes here and there for you? What can you be doing in that time, right?
I just really feel called just to tell each and every one of you that I love each and every one of you. And I'm glad you're here tonight. And I want to tell you is that you matter. Like, there's almost 8 billion people on this planet, and you've been created as one of a kind. But when we're under all this stress, kind of forget how awesome we are. So, you're doing a great job. Just the fact that you're here tonight, you're doing a great job. And that you're worthy, you're approved, you're accepted. You don't need me to tell you that. I'm just reminding you of it. Because then if you just own it, and all of a sudden, you're going to see a lot of weight just lifted off your shoulders, your body, your soul. So I just felt like telling you all. You guys are awesome. There's nobody else like you out there. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm a parent, you know, married 14 years to Eros, and this business has been here for 14 years in the community. You know, you just got to recognize that you're doing a great job. I didn't say you had to be perfect. Nobody is. Okay. You can just let them know you can get started. We're almost done. But you're doing a great job. If nobody's told you you're doing a great job, I'm here to tell you tonight. You're doing a great job. And Dr. Sarah, you're doing a great job. And I really appreciate you being here and giving of your time and energy, because I know you just added a lot of value to the people in this room. Is there anything else? Any other questions?
What do we take with us, like, to contact you?
So I was just speaking to Meredith just a second ago. I'm a horrible networker. Most acupuncturists don't venture out too often. So I don't really carry my cards on me, but
here's what we'll do.
Phone number?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I can do that, yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. She can give you your phone number, and then you just contact that way. We can get the information from Dr. Sarah, and we'll get it out to you.
I have cards. I don't have a lot of cards, but I have.
Okay, we have some cards that are here, and we'll get that.
S-A-R-A or
H.
S-A-R-A-H?
Oh, with an H.
H?
With an H.
My daughter is S-A-R-A.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My granddaughter, I should say.
Any other questions or lingerings?
I think I wanna speak for the whole group and say that we love you too.
Thanks,
We
thanks, Carol.
really, you know,
Said it.
we appreciate you, you've done so much, you spend your life trying to do stuff for other people.
Thank you, Carol, and it's an honor. And this helps fulfill the purpose that I've been given by God, doing this. So,
And I'd like to add the team that you have by your
Oh,
side.
yeah.
100%.
Because it's all of
Awesome.
this, so yes, I thank you.
it's a team
You're all
effort.
lifelines.
I tell Catherine, Kate, and especially Lynn this, is that I would not be able to do what I do back here to create these healing moments without you all being here. And it is through your voice, through your energy, through your positivity. It's about your care, your connection with everybody that walks into this office that helps create the healing experience that they all have.
And your patience, because it's hard to change.
Yeah.
You're all very patient with us.
When I went to Palmer College of Chiropractic, that's the first ever chiropractic school in Davenport, Iowa. They had a whole bunch of epigrams. Epigrams are sayings on the wall, okay? And they said that there's one of them that said, the doctor with no patience has no patience. So patience is a good thing. Patience is a good thing. Okay. I think we all, I mean, I can feel it, what you all received here tonight. Okay, we're leaving better than when we arrived. And that's awesome, right there. So, I'm excited for you if you guys decide to follow up with Dr. Sarah. I know 100% this is going to help your chiropractic care. So, I look forward to seeing those results down the road. So, thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And you're very welcome. Thank you again for being here.